Titles and Ninja Studio.
Kia ora, Jen, with 30 seconds away from opening titles.
15 seconds.
Blake, just checking, can you hear me?
BTB 10, 9, 8, 7, 6,
Roll B.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Tonight on Metro News. 5 years on, rugby's blue card is making a difference. Surfers rejoice as a swell hits the coast. And we explore how a group of mates repurposed a landfill. Kia ora and welcome to Metro News, a program brought to you by the students of the New Zealand Broadcasting School.
Rugby is regarded as one of the most dangerous contact sports and has been responsible for some life-threatening head injuries. The rugby union's working hard to make the game safer, and as I find out, the blue concussion card, introduced 5 years ago, is making a difference.
The New Zealand Rugby Union's issued 250 blue cards since it was introduced 5 years ago. The cards also collect data by identifying rugby's most dangerous phases, an initiative referees say make the game safer.
It's actually had a really positive effect. It's made people much more aware of players who are being injured through knocks to the head and suffering concussion.
Players issued a blue card for a head knock must leave the field until they're given medical clearance.
ACC had almost 2,000 concussion-related rugby claims last year, with Canterbury producing 230 of them. This makes the region the second highest in the country for rugby-related head knocks. However, is this enough to stop Kiwis picking up the ball?
For me, no. There's been times where I think I've had a concussion or I've been head knocked and I wanted to play on. The love of the game for me sometimes overrules safety and health of players. So.
It's tough to make big blanket changes. It's sort of got to be incremental changes, like the tackle height, anything around the head. I think that's pretty much the best way you can do it without impacting the actual flow of the game.
On average, a professional rugby player is likely to sustain a serious concussion after just 25 matches, with 800 cases last year alone.
Any referee who uses a blue card has had to go through training, and here in Canterbury we use our match doctors who are involved at Super Rugby level in recognising and diagnosing concussions of our players. So they've taken our referees through what they should be looking for, symptoms and signs, and we refresh that every year.
Concussions force some of New Zealand's greatest players to hang up their boots. But for now, the fight to protect players' heads is top priority. Tommy Flavel, Metro News.
Motorists can still expect major delays due to flooding in Canterbury. The Ashburton Bridge on State Highway 1 is likely to remain closed for some time with no alternative route south. Many other roads and bridges are still out of action, and there's also widespread surface flooding. The government's promising $600,000 to help farmers and also assist with repairing infrastructure.
As we know, the weather's been terrible in Canterbury, but one group of people are loving the low-pressure system. Surfers are heading to beaches like Scarborough, New Brighton and Taylor's Mistake to make the most of the big swell. Our reporter Jen Plack is at Sumner Beach and joins us now. Jen.
The last few days have been rain, rain and more rain. However, in amongst the wet weather, there have been pockets of gold. Surfers are enjoying some of the best waves we'll see this year, leaving work early, heading to the beach with their wetsuits. Thrills and spills on the waves at Taylor's Mistake. It's been a week of big surf on the east coast.
There's a lot of average and less surfers out there enjoying themselves.
What's attracting them is a massive east coast swell. Up in the North Island, they've been up to 10 metres high. Down here, it's a little smaller, 2 to 4 metres.
The biggest swells so far this week have been seen around the likes of Coromandel or through Gisborne, thanks to that deep low pressure system up there. As you can imagine, swell does take time to travel, so there is going to be some rather large easterly swells through the likes of Canterbury.
Strong gale force winds, flooding and huge waves up north have been causing trouble. But down here in the south, it's time for a good surf. And surf of this size and quality is rare on the east coast.
A groundswell like this probably only about half a dozen times a year coming from that direction.
We've only been down here for like a year and a half, a year, and it's probably one of the best I've seen it.
Up north it's been really big, and yeah, now it's finally here, so we get some good waves.
The blood moon and resulting king tides this past week have also added to the size of the waves.
We generally see our highest tides around the time of the full moon, and this moon in particular being even closer to Earth is just going to make those high tides just that little bit higher, which does aid the waves or the swell running up that beach just that little bit further.
It may be winter, but as long as the waves keep flowing, the surfers will keep coming. Even though the waves have been great, that doesn't mean surfers have been excused from weather problems. An interclub competition on Sunday was called off due to too much wind. The good news is the worst of the weather has passed, and Met Surfers is expecting the surf conditions to get better throughout the week, meaning waves will be good until Friday.
Students at a bilingual school in Woolston are having a go at being professional broadcasters. The aim is to get different voices and faces into the media and represent diversity into the community. Jessica Swan meets with the budding stars.
Lights, camera, action! Te Waka TV!
Te Waka TV is on its way.
Through this program, what we hope to do is to give the students an inspiration in terms of using different mediums to have their voice heard.
Teachers aim to build confidence in tamariki, encouraging students from their bilingual school into the industry.
What we hope is that our students, as they move through secondary and tertiary, is they consider jobs within the media as something that they could aspire to and could achieve.
But after decades of underrepresentation in newsrooms, getting Māori, Pasifika and other cultures on board is hard.
Media's where a lot of people draw their role models from, and if young kids aren't able to see people who look like them reflected back at them, it can have detrimental effects.
So we really need to employ more Māori, more brown faces, more diverse faces, more diversity generally.
Recently, news media outlets have been apologising for racism and prejudice when reporting on Māori, including organisations such as Stuff, who recently signed a company charter with Te Tiriti o Waitangi at its core.
It's change well overdue.
That we need to include all of the reality of our communities and reflect our experiences. That is literally our job.
How we achieve that is a balancing act.
And that equality of representation is never about reaching somewhere. When you're balancing on a tightrope, it's not about walking on the dead centre. It's about shifting your weight as it's needed.
Through this striving, the narrative is changing, but students agree there's still more room for diversity.
There could be a lot more.
Definitely could be more.
It could improve in the future. Back in the olden days, there were only white people on the media, and I think it would be better to have multicultural.
As their TV series begins and children celebrate their diverse cultures, there's hope these students could help rewrite the script. Jessica Swan, Metro News.
Coming up next, Sue Bagshaw talks about New Zealand's appalling mental health statistics, and we check out an initiative to get more people onto the rugby field.
My name is Ella Cook. I'm a television production manager in London. I work for a company called Red House Television. I work on property shows, comedy and entertainment. I worked as the production assistant on New Zealand's Got Talent, on Target, on What Now. I came to London nearly 4 years ago now. Didn't have any issues finding a job at all. I went to a company called Hat-Trick Productions. We won a BAFTA last year, as well as were nominated this year. To even be nominated and go to the awards was something I never ever thought that I would ever do, but then to also win it and go up on the BAFTA stage was just a brilliant feeling. I love living in London. Definitely a big change from living in New Zealand. There's so many people, it's so busy and bustling all the time. I also love being able to just go to the theatre or see something different every night. The professionalism that we are taught at Broadcasting School really helps in the wider world. I had my degree on my CV as well as the work experience that I'd gained after my internship. I would never have thought that I'd get this far. It's the best thing that I ever did for my career. There's no way that I would be where I am today without the degree that I have.
Welcome back. Residents are disappointed at a proposal to cut funding to a number of city libraries. As Jessica Swan reports, it could mean shortened opening hours, less staff and potentially fewer books.
It's a safe place for everyone.
I love coming to the library to have some space, quiet time, resources for projects.
I still need to use the library to keep up with what I need. Can't buy all the books that I want.
For us, it's kind of like a lifestyle that we look forward to our weekly trip to the library.
To save money, the council is looking at reducing the amount it spends on libraries. But many book lovers are against the move.
It covers all sectors of the community, from babies to senior citizens, from the wealthy to the impoverished.
Under the proposal, around 10 libraries will be affected. Hours will be reduced in some, others will be closing weekend days. People want the opposite.
I went into the Central Library in town, which is proposed to close an hour earlier, and a lot of people want it to be open till 9 p.m. instead, like the old library used to be.
South Library is just one of many facilities with shorter hours proposed, but no one quite knows how it will impact the 800 people who use the service daily, let alone hundreds of others who use different locations citywide.
While some say they'll just adapt, reduced hours will make it harder for others.
People will survive if libraries close at 6, but it would be good if we can offer that service to people who need it.
The solution?
Keep the libraries open, just retain the status quo.
I think libraries should actually possibly be open longer.
Councillors vote in a month. Until then, it's a waiting game to see what the next chapter will hold. Jessica Swan, Metro News.
Chemists are up in arms about the free prescriptions being offered by the big discount pharmacies. They claim they're having to make prescriptions free to match the competition, and this is making it hard for businesses to survive. Our reporter Blake Benny is across the story and joins us now. Blake.
The $5 fee has long been controversial, and in the past everyone's had to pay it when collecting their prescription. But now with the discount pharmacy chain scrapping it, it's left local chemists frustrated. First, they're losing business, and second, customers aren't getting a fair deal around the country.
It's an unfair advantage for those living in the major cities. It's using the free prescriptions as a loss leader to entice people in, and it's just not a professional thing to do. And if that is the case, it should be applied throughout New Zealand, not just in the big cities where they can set up and know they've got a ready market.
Now, chemists don't get to keep the $5 fee. That's taken by the government, so many chemists want it scrapped altogether. They've lobbied health officials, and so far there's no indication things will change.
Thanks, Blake. Once scoffed at, the Crocs footwear brand is flying high, as Nick Duff discovers the American company that makes them has had unprecedented success on the stock market this year.
Crocs have had a resurgence in pop culture recently. Collaborations in recent years with celebrities such as Justin Bieber and Post Malone have given the company new life. New Zealand brand manager for Crocs, Jess Lowe, says they're a shoe for everyone.
Crocs are just making a huge fashion comeback. We're really seeing it being brought amongst like the culture creators, so that's fashionistas or people who just want to express their style in a unique way.
Shoe buyers we spoke to seem to be unsure about rocking a pair.
No. It's very comfortable, and as a healthcare worker, I would wear Crocs.
No.
Definitely I would.
They're not my style, I just don't like them.
Because they're very good in the garden.
I think there's too much stigma about them with my friends, and if I wore them I'd just get absolutely wrecked.
If they have some stylish pairs, it's a possibility.
The style, however, does seem to appeal to people from all walks of life.
We're selling the camo clogs to sort of hunting and fishing kind of guys, and then the colourful Crocs is definitely going to be more of the teenagers, bringing back that sort of 90s nostalgic footwear kind of thing.
This rise in popularity has translated to Wall Street as well. Crocs reached record highs in share prices for the first quarter of the year. Earnings are worth $1.49 per share right now, 60 cents above where they are expected to be. In the first quarter of the year, the shoe company made $460 million compared to the $281 million they made during the same time period last year.
I think they're just super versatile. You can just wear them with anything you like. They're comfortable. Everyone likes to be comfortable these days.
So if you're looking to make a fashion statement and remain comfortable, grab a pair of Crocs, chuck them in sport mode and you're good to go. Nick Duff, Metro News.
For many years, Canterbury's suicide figures have been among the worst in the country. Experts are warning the number of people taking their own lives will continue to rise if the government doesn't take urgent action. Dr. Sue Bagshaw joined me earlier in the studio to discuss the issue. Thanks for coming in, Sue.
Pleasure.
So, can you tell me why are the rates so bad in Canterbury?
I think what we're experiencing is all the usual stuff of the way we live our lives these days in terms of all the pressures that we've got from homework, school, training, social media, everything. But on top of that, we've got people who have been born during what is actually quite a large natural disaster. I don't think people realise what a disaster the earthquakes were. And it wasn't a one-off. We were getting shakes one after the other, which actually, even those follow-up shakes on their own were damaging. And so I think what we're experiencing is people who have had damage to their mental health and emotional regulation really early on. And when that happens, it's really hard as you're growing up, especially when you hit puberty, when your anxiety centres are going up anyway, and you've already gone up because of the earthquakes. And then on top of that, we've had the shootings, and then on top of that, we've had floods and fires and all those kind of things. It all adds up to people who find it really hard to maintain their mental health.
And out of that, who is at the highest risk? Is it males?
I think, well, males, their amygdala grows a bit bigger than other people's, and that's the centre in your brain that looks out for danger and looks out for threat. But at the same time, I think so males may be more at threat partly because our society tells them they have to man up. And they're not allowed to ask for help, and they have to, just get on with it. And if our society would say, hey, everybody's allowed help, it doesn't matter what gender you are, please ask, please talk, that would be so much better.
And what are your predictions for the future going forward with the rates of suicide?
Well, I think it's really important that we recognise, number one, where people are at. Number two, I think we have to actually, as a whole society, slow ourselves down. Because if we don't, we're really putting everybody in danger, not just young people. And I shouldn't say just young people, because, without young people growing older, it's not going to be a very good society that we're looking at. So I think investment into actually allowing companies, firms, schools to slow down and actually give family time, give time to be able to take time to notice would be really, really helpful.
And previously you mentioned about the government budget. Can you please talk a bit about what the government can do to help?
I was really pleased to see the rise in benefit levels. I know some people don't like benefits going up, but when you don't have enough to eat, it's very hard to be mentally well. And everybody's benefit money is going on accommodation because accommodation is so high. When you can't eat, it doesn't work. So it's really important for the benefits to go up, need to go up further. But most importantly, we need to be creating jobs so that people can get into well-paid jobs on a living wage where you can actually pay for rent and food, and not either or.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time, sir. Really appreciate you having me on.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Coming up, we explore a local artist's new work that you can't see. And it might have been a landfill once, but a group of mates have turned it into a Borders paradise.
My name's Chris Nicol and I'm head of production for Capital FM Network, doing TV, I'm doing online, I'm doing event audio, and I'm working with a team of 8 people. We make everything, every single sweeper, ident, thing that says what radio station you're listening to, what TV station you're watching. Broadcasting school put me in a scenario where I had to figure things out, hands-on learning. getting stuck in, teaching yourself stuff. It also prepared me for the sorts of people that you come in contact with in media and how to deal with situations, especially high stressful situations. The great thing was the tutors were really encouraging and really helpful. They were like senior members of staff in a real radio station. Nowhere else will you get hands-on learning that actually lands you in a real radio station doing real work as part of the course. I have freelanced at some fantastic places and made some really good friends just from being able to turn up and be nice and polite and professional. All of those things is what broadcasting school was really good at versing you in. Being in London, it's a melting pot of creativity and ideas and people. I'm doing stations in Iceland, Germany, America, New Zealand still, which is wonderful. I can't say I expected it to be quite like this, but it's awesome.
Welcome back. Imagine creating a piece of artwork you won't even be able to see. As Eve Abernethy reports, it's promising to delight your other senses.
Joe Bajinska is in the midst of creating a multi-sensory exhibition, a snapshot of Ōtautahi designed for everything but your eyes.
We're very used to navigating the city using our eyes, but there's this whole kind of dimension of experience that often gets overlooked, and I'm trying to kind of investigate what emerges when we stop using kind of the visual sense as our dominant one.
Joe's coined the term sensuous psychogeography, which encourages following different cues like interesting sounds, smells and textures around the city.
It's things in the city that they would have overlooked normally, and you wouldn't be taking in a lot of the kind of interesting sensory experiences that streetscape has to offer.
As research, Joe's been walking extensively and is bringing along others. She's interested in their feedback.
I'm definitely going to be focusing in on some additional things now when I walk around those places, particularly the smell of things. Yeah, that was really striking.
With a background in wine writing and sound art, Joe's enjoying the challenge.
I'm recording sounds, taking kind of botanical material which I distill into essential oils so that I can actually work with what's out there.
Joe's creating an interactive piece that you'll be able to experience in September.
There isn't actually anything to see, but you will be able to hear, touch, taste as well. There will be hopefully an edible element and hear these works which are based on my experiences in the project.
It's all about what might we find when we stop looking. Eve Abernethy, Metro News.
If you're keen to add a bit more adrenaline into your life, look no further than mountain boarding. As reporter Lockie McLeod discovers, it's all happening on an old landfill site in Christchurch.
Mountain boarding, an extreme sport now in Christchurch's backyard.
Mountain boarding, still relatively new sport. I think it was created in about the 90s. Just a few snowboarders wanted to be able to ride during the summer.
Josh is proud of the work he has done and loves seeing the younger generation have a go.
No, it's cool. Bit of a confidence boost sort of thing, but no, it's awesome just to see everyone else get out here and just jump on a board and try it.
This land was given to Josh after the COVID-19 lockdown, and with a few of his mates he's turned this old landfill into Christchurch's newest gem.
Usually I'm up here most weekends, every now and again come up after work and just throw some dirt around and figure things out.
The boards are basically a snowboard with wheels. They cost from $500 for a basic version to $5,000 for one with electric power.
It's like skating, except we can go into the hills and do it. So for me it makes sense that heaps of people should get into it.
And the locals agree.
Pretty fun. It's just like mountain biking and skateboarding.
It's an adrenaline-packed event.
Scary, sketchy, but also fun at the same time.
It might look intimidating and scary, but as soon as you're on the board and you feel it, it's just smooth as anything, and I promise you'll enjoy every single moment of it.
So if you're looking for something to do in Christchurch, come on up to the Mountain Board Park and give it a go. Lockie McLeod, Metro News.
A local rugby club is running an initiative giving people with disabilities the chance to lace up their boots and take to the field. Pierre Nixon heads to Hagley Park to check out the action.
This is Try Rugby.
an initiative aiming to give everyone a chance at playing rugby.
So Try Rugby is a game for people with disability and vulnerabilities.
First kicking off in Scotland, Try Rugby has made its way to Christchurch. The first club to bring the game to New Zealand, High School Old Boys.
So I have a son who plays Try Rugby, and so I'm the manager for the Try team and have kind of just helped the club, I guess, get it going.
Working with her, coach Pete Chaplin.
It's a real privilege, actually. We started last year. Yeah, it's just built and built and built.
High School Old Boys Rugby Club do their try trainings every Wednesday, with about 30 players giving it a try. They use a special system to identify who can be tackled and who can't.
A black hat recognises that it's full tackle, a yellow scrum cap indicates that it's a partial tackle, and a red is just a touch.
For the players, it's all about friendship.
But the most enjoyable thing about it is the team. It's just a wonderful family environment to be in, and I really love it.
It's a great team to play for, great club, and get some really good game time in.
When COVID is under control, they want to play the first ever international try rugby match in Scotland. But for now, Hagley Park is just fine. Pierre Nixon, Metro News.
And now to the weather. Rain cleared up in Ōtautahi today, bringing a high of 11. It's looking to be a chilly night with a low of 3. So it'll be a cold start tomorrow morning with light winds later in the day, and hoping to reach a high of 14.
That's all for Metro News tonight.
And for those stories and more, head to our website, metronews.co.nz, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
We'll be back tomorrow night at 7. Call Tommy Flavolaho.
Call Lucy Bendalaho.
Ka kite anō.